Let's do it.
Damara Holness broke down, and in federal court she was crying. She was apologizing to people who could have frankly really used this money. In the end, though, she will still face prison time. She walks away from the federal courthouse. Her time outside now limited, her daughter in her arms.
It's a mistake that I made, and I'm putting it in my fast to continue moving forward.
Damara Holness talks outside after a judge just sentenced her to 1 year and 8 months in prison. She'll have to surrender within 90 days to serve that time after pleading guilty to scheming and lying in order to get her hands on COVID-19 relief money.
I apologize to the community. I apologize to my family. I apologize to my friends. And most importantly, I apologize to my dad, whose career really took a toll for my own wrongdoings.
She's made a mistake. We're humans, we made a mistake.
She's the daughter of former Broward Mayor and congressional candidate Dale Holness, who was there.
She accepts responsibility. Certainly she'll pay a price, and we just got to be here to help her rebuild her life.
Prosecutors insist this was an elaborate scheme. She applied for $300,000 worth of aid from the Paycheck Protection Program meant to help small businesses stay afloat. Said her company employed 18 people when in fact she had no employees. Lied on several documents, roped in other people as well. Prosecutors said she did it out of greed. She said while she has no excuse, her finances, her life at the time wasn't all that it seemed.
Hey, this is a mistake that I made. Not out of greed, but out of desperation as a pregnant woman trying to make a way for herself. And I just want to move forward with my life and continue doing the work that I was doing before.
No. Okay, we're going to back up here before we go into this next one. All right, actually several things to discuss. First off, let's talk about the daughter in the arms, all right? That would be very embarrassing, having this cute little girl be basically put on social media for the rest of her life, because, on social media, nothing disappears. There's my mom, the $300,000 fraudster. I'm sure that's probably not going to play well as she gets older. You may want to move on with your life, but the internet forgets nothing. So that's one thing. What an embarrassment. Let's see. She says it's a mistake. I don't believe that falsifying records of up to $300,000, saying you have 18 employees. This is why you see my notepad, in case anyone doesn't know. I keep track of notes on here. Saying you have 18 employees when you actually have none or way less. These are not mistakes. To be able to do a scam like this, this is just her character. I will even forgive mistakes for, let's say, a one-time misdemeanor. I'll give mistakes for one time, maybe, two guys brawling it out in a bar or something, and they, wind up in a little tussle, and it was a one-time thing, and they both go, yeah, we realize we overreacted. I mean, there are things that happen. But being able to scheme out of $300,000 of PPP, that's, what is it? That's the Paycheck Protection Program, okay? Being able to scheme $300,000, that takes a mastermind, and it takes a lot of planning. When I think of mistakes, I think of things that are very impromptu. Okay, you momentarily lost your cool and you never did it again. You momentarily did something. Okay, this is not momentary. This is planning. I'm sorry that her father, I think they said he was a one-time Broward County commissioner or something like that. Unfortunately, apples don't always fall far from the tree. At least that's the phrase that we hear. So it sounds like he didn't get reelected. Not blaming this on the parent in any way, okay? But what I am saying is, when she says my father's career took a toll, it sounds like he lost just about everything. So that's something to consider. If you're going to do PPP fraud and you have, family members that are in public office, it doesn't help their career any, that's for sure. I think it's pathetic that she said that this is what she had to do because she was pregnant. I think that's a pathetic excuse, and I can't think of a better word than pathetic. Lots of women are pregnant. Okay? I don't believe they defraud $300,000. I believe they don't commit fraud against the federal government for 300 grand. So I think saying, well, I'm just a pregnant woman and, all wasn't great as it seems. Well, it sounds to me like if she has a father that is able to run for office and stuff, she's certainly not on the low end of the socioeconomic and education ladder. What we really have here, family, is we just have a case of a greedy woman. I just find it to be a real insult to say, well, I was pregnant. There, I'm assuming is the baby. Because remember, this was done a couple years ago, but it's only now. Recently, the feds are chasing them, chasing the fraudsters down. To say that was the reason you committed PPP fraud, then what did all the pregnant women do before the PPP loans were given out and they were stressed out? Did they go rob banks? Hold up liquor stores? I don't believe they did that. I think what we're really dealing with is lack of character. That's really what we're dealing with. I could forgive a misdemeanor. Someone who does something, one time, never does it again. I can overlook that, This was an elaborate scheme. I think they said that. Absolutely elaborate. So, and then she says she just kind of wants to go back and return to her community, and returning is never as easy as people think it is. It's not like, hey, I committed $300,000 fraud, now I'm just gonna pick up right where I left off. No, you're not. The people you knew probably may not wish to hang out with you any longer because of what you did, even if they still like you personally and they figure you made a dumb mistake. The problem is sometimes, as her father can testify, it's sometimes it's about who you know. You're supposed to know people for the good reasons, not the bad reasons. But sometimes someone commits a crime and other people are like, look, I'd love to hang out with you, but you're known as a fraudster and that could hurt my professional reputation. Yes, people, you have to think of things like that before you go out, committing crimes, big or small. What is the impression people will have of you? This was no small crime. This was elaborate. This took a lot of time planning. And had she never gotten caught, all right, she'd be going on living her best life. So $300,000, and she gets, I think, a puny 18 months in jail. Hey, it is what it is. Oh, let me hit the play button.
Trying to make a way for herself, and I just want to move forward with my life and continue doing the work that I was doing before.
Now, first off, in the feds, you only do 85% of your time because you get 54 good days per year. But before the First Step Act was passed a couple years back, it used to be 47 good days per year, but now it's 54 good days per year. Now, let me tell you this, you do not have to earn the 54 good days per year because it will already be calculated within your early release date once Grand Prairie receives your papers from the federal courts. Now, the only thing you need to do is make sure you keep your good time by not catching shots or write-ups or getting into any trouble. Because in the feds, every inmate has 2 release dates. You have your early release date and you have your max release date. And your early release date is the release date that already got your good time calculated within it. Now your max release date is the release date that you will have if you lost all your good time.
If he worked as hard in school, I'm just saying, I don't know what his schooling is, but I'm gonna go in the shallow end of the water and say he probably could have worked harder. If he worked as hard in school as he's worked on understanding the release dates for prison, imagine where he would be. Just imagine where he would be. Young man, I hope you're out by now doing great things. But I want you to think about this. Do you know the right information? Do you know the things that are advancing your life? When I was at my most broke, and I've had 2 bankruptcies, no secret on this channel, I could rattle to you when the due dates were for credit cards, like this guy can rattle to you the prison early release dates, good time dates, in terms I've already forgotten because sometimes I think I have ADHD, okay? But if you know the information for the wrong things, you might want to consider that. Like I could literally tell you when I was at my most broke, I could tell you, oh, this credit card has, this amount of balance transfer and this is the fee. And I know if I can go ahead and I can put $200 and I can transfer it onto this card because this card has an extra $50 on it, yada, yada. I could go back and forth between credit cards because my ass was so broke that I was always looking for the next card to either run up charges that I could not afford on, or to do a balance transfer, which, yes, I am aware. I mean, keep in mind, I was in my 20s. I'm 57 now. But keep in mind, back in my 20s, okay, when my broke ass didn't understand how credit cards work, and I didn't understand money, fighting depression, the whole 9 yards, I could rattle credit card, balance transfers, fees, and all that to you like this guy can do prison days. Today, I could not tell you. I have probably about a dozen credit cards. I could not tell you today because I don't carry a month-to-month credit card balance. I could not tell you today what the balance rates and transfer fees are on my card. I couldn't tell you. Have you ever, you have a credit card and it says to you, you can get texted notices? Because I do carry one card that I like to travel with, and I just use it, for everyday stuff. But have you ever, you can get automatic text messages on your phone? Okay, family, you know what I'm talking about, that says, we'll tell you when the due date is and all of that stuff. We'll tell you, we'll text you if a payment has been made. Well, there's an option you can have. And it's we'll tell you if you're near your limit or over your limit. Yeah, some of you may be familiar with that. I certainly was. Okay, 30 years ago, I was really familiar with it. Today, I don't even use that option. Why? Because there isn't a card of my 12 cards that's going to be near the balance, over the limit balance, or anything else. It is so far from that. Because I use one card, I pay it off every month. I have no need to be told when I'm near the balance. But I do like to be told if there's an overseas purchase, because there should be no overseas purchases. But when you can start relaxing on things like that, that's when you know your financial corner is turning. So this guy clearly has deep dived, God bless him, into the timeline of early release. So I would say that this is great information, but I'd rather have you know information that helps advance you a bit more.
Release date is the release date that you will have if you lost all your good time.
Alvin, that player is part of the New York Jets, and now federal investigators say he and others filed PPP loan applications for more than $24 million.
Okay, before we go on this, can you imagine all the young boys, and I am going to say boys because they're the men, okay, but they're boys at the time, that are dreaming of going into professional sports. They're dreaming. And this Yahoo loses it all over a freaking fraud. It blows me away.
Josh Bellamy of St. Petersburg has now been charged with wire and bank fraud, in addition to conspiracy to commit wire and bank fraud. Investigators say he conspired with others to obtain millions of dollars in fraudulent PPP loans. Bellamy allegedly got more than $1 million for his own company, Drip Entertainment. They say he then bought $104,000 worth of luxury goods from designers like Dior and Gucci. They also allege he spent more than $62,000 of the loan at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino here in Broward. He's accused of trying to get PPP loans for family members and associates.
Do you know what? You know what kills me is how many people were trying to rope other people into the fraud with them. Oh, and I was nice, family. I looked up his sentencing, and here it is. It says he received 37 months in federal prison for his 1.2 million PPP loan fraud. See, I like to bring you quality content, so if I could look up what their conviction was, I did it for you. All right? Now, I want you to think about how stupid this was. He did this for 1.2 million. Now, what could he have earned in the NFL? Even just sitting your butt on a bench, being a bench warmer. Where could he be? Instead, he gets to spend the next 3 years and a month. But according to the other video, he may get some time off for good behavior. Okay, so we'll just round it off just a little under 3 years, around 3 years. He gets to send it. He gets to spend it in federal prison. What a foolish waste of youth. What a foolish waste of talent. This really is all about greed. That's, when the money was being given out, and some of the commenters on the last 2 PPP fraud videos, which I did, all right, you guys commented, and I was a bit surprised how many people tried to rope you into it also. It's like, is there no end? But it's clear that some out in my audience were very aware that it's not so much that this was a scam. Some people say, this was just the government trying to trap you. No, it's not the government trying to trap you. Yes, it's the government being inefficient with money and in dispersing it, but that's nothing new. But what it really came down to, if you really want to get down to it, it's about your character. What did you do? How did you behave when the opportunity to have a whole bunch of money handed to you seemed to be free? What did you do? What did you do when you thought the authorities' back was turned? That's something I always tell my students. What will you do when I walk out of the room? And what I think you will do is how I base my trust. All right? So these are adults. These aren't 13, 14-year-old middle school students. These are adults, and you're seeing the character of a lot of these adults. What did they do when they thought authority wasn't looking? And, that first lady, the one with the father who's the Broward County Commissioner, she's an attractive lady, professional looking photo, probably, maybe not all of you, but some of you out there might have thought, yeah, she'd be good for a date. Obviously she's married and stuff. I think she's married. Who knows? Okay. I don't know if she's married or not, but all I know is she has child. But that appearance of professionalism and being put together, that's just an appearance. It's not who these people really are. Who they really are showed. And I think the PPP loan, showed who really wasn't wearing clothes. You're just looking like you all put together. And trust me, I remember when the PPP thing came out, and I was thinking, I too thought this is like a free for all, but it would never dawn on me to forge documents. For gosh sakes, don't put your name on documents. And the other thing, people, if you're going to go out and commit stupid stuff like this, you don't do it with, a whole bunch of other people. Because when it gets right down to it, one of you ain't going to be able to survive jail very long, and you're going to be, squawking, to the feds about what happened. You cannot do stuff like this. Okay, I don't think you can do it on your own very successfully. Apparently not successfully at all. But you sure can't do it with a whole bunch of other people and expect them all to keep a secret. Come on, think about it. So this NFL player received 37 months federal prison for $1.2 million. I rest my case, family. I believe he could have made that in the NFL and then some. So now he gets to come out of prison. The NFL's going to reject him. And don't think for a minute, family, that getting out of jail, prison, whatever, okay, after you've been locked up, don't think it's as easy as what they make it seem on TikTok. Or what even that first lady makes it seem like. I just want to get back to doing what I was doing. No, because now you're trying to get back with the criminal record. Now you may have to go to a halfway house for a part of the time. You're going to have to explain to every freaking employer why you have a felony. Or even why you have a misdemeanor. It's tough. What are you going to do? You like manual labor if you're a guy? Because you may be pushed into a manual labor job for years to come. And everybody says, well, you can just go out and be self-employed. That's not as easy as you may think either, because some self-employments require a license. And guess what those licenses require? A background check. Don't ever forget the part of the story that people don't tell you, and that is what life is after prison, after trying to get out. It is not just as simple as I served my time and now I'm going to go out and just pick up that, job that I was at. That job most likely is not going to want you back. Or even if they wanted you back, they can't hire you back due to legal or insurance purposes. In other words, an employer, this is something else people don't think about. When employers hire people, even if that employer wants to hire you, you must not only always pass a background check with the company, you may be required to pass a background check through the insurance that insures that company to make sure that you're insurable. These are things you don't think about. Don't ever be misled to think that getting out of jail is just a simple little thing and you just go and get yourself another job. Unless you want to do the, and again, we're not, by any means, talking down to wait staff or, hard laborers, okay? But please don't misunderstand that. But, if you came from a white collar desk job like this lady here, that first lady, Mrs. Broward County Commissioner daughter, all right, she's going to have a hard time bouncing back. She's going to, this, and I think she's in jail right now as we speak. So if she gets out, hi, moving on. Oh, geez.
Hi, my name is Kyle. I did 7 years in federal prison, 5 for securities fraud and wire fraud, and 2 for violating the terms of my supervised release. Some people...
I would say congratulations on that whole list, but somehow or another, I don't think the moment is right.
People often ask how I survived in prison. First things first, I'm Hawaiian and gay and a white-collar offender. I wear glasses most of the time, so I actually did look like a sex offender. I started out in a minimum prison, which has no sex offenders, and we'll talk about that in another video. But the way I survived is my biggest tip. Keep your head down, especially when you first get to prison. You don't want to be asking a lot of questions and starting to mind other people's business. See how things operate and see how you can get along. Another way I survived federal prison is that I did a lot of legal work. I have my JD and my paralegal certification. I'm not a bar attorney or anything like that, but I know a lot about the law, and I was able to help a lot of different people from a lot of different cars and groups in my reputation.
Sorry, but imagine if they put all the energy of the stuff that they know, they had put that onto the right side of the law where they would be at. And like he said, he can't get barred. I don't know if he ever will be able to be barred. To be approved to practice law. I don't know. But just imagine, something people think. People sometimes think that everybody in prison is stupid. No, in fact, I'm going to dare say that some of the brightest people, some of the brightest minds are behind bars. I don't want to get into it, but I'm going to dare say, like on a cup of hot cocoa at Thornton's gas station, I'm going to say some of the brightest people are actually behind bars.
Improved by that.
Daniela Rendon was a super hot Instagram lifestyle influencer who built a following with content at the intersection of sex and ostentatious opulence. And before you call me a hypocrite, I'll admit that I follow hundreds of pretty much identical women like this in my own social media feed. So,
God love him. When I first heard this, for having the guts to say I follow women like this in my own social media feed. I'd say it makes them sound a little but we're not going to get into it. He does admit it. That's just no, that just kind of gives me that creepy crawlies.
No hate from me. Daniela's gimmick is that she claimed to be a luxury real estate agent in Miami, which funded her impossible lifestyle filled with private jets, sexy outfits, and a Bentley to call her own. Daniela's house of cards collapsed when an FBI investigation revealed that this mother of 3 was actually pulling down about $48,000 per year selling properties in the model homes of a Trump Group housing development.
So in other words, she was making what a teacher makes, but looking like she was just the jet-setting rich girl. So much of social media is fake. Sometimes I think almost all of it is fake. Even my background here is fake, okay?
Then how on earth was she affording this Instagram lifestyle? The answer was fraudulent COVID relief PPP loans. She falsified applications and enjoyed a windfall of $400,000 of your tax dollars that she spent on a Bentley lease, a luxury apartment, cosmetic surgery, and several pairs of remarkably strappy shoes.
The only thing that might do her well in prison is the cosmetic surgery. Look, if you're going to do stuff like this, at least do something. The one smart thing she did, do something they can't take back. Look, you know what? I did cosmetic surgery on myself and you can't take it back. So at least while you're serving time, all right, you got the pleasure of looking and wearing whatever it was you had tattooed, rebuilt, or whatever on you.
The FBI investigation resulted in federal fraud charges to which Daniela pled guilty. She wrote a 30-page apology letter to the judge who sentenced her to 3.5 years in prison with a sizable restitution bill hanging over her head when she's released in early 2027.
So here's the thing. How many of you, and let's face it, I like to put it back on the picture just so you kind of remember where we were at, okay? How many of you, and I know I've done this, even though we shouldn't, you look at somebody on social media and you're thinking, there's the life. They're living the life, okay? As you're toiling away, in my case, in my 840 square feet, driving my Toyota Corolla. But something that we forget, we don't know what the debt is. We don't know what they did wrongfully to get there, okay? And the more, it's kind of like this, the more I see of social media, the more I hate it. Because really, you got the, and I never use Google Lens, the things that make your face look a little different, your skin look a little smoother. No, I'm a child of, I was born in 1967, so most of us in our 50s, we weren't raised under Google Lens and altering everything. It is what it is. Every wrinkle, every gray hair, yada, yada. I don't use any of that camera stuff because I can't handle not presenting myself in a real way. The way you see me and all the different aspects of me, whether I'm, exercising at the gym with my hair pulled back, whether I look like this, okay, whatever, it's got to be real. It's got to be something that somebody can go, oh yeah, you know what? She looks like that in person. Or maybe, she looks like that when she goes to the gym. But what we wind up seeing is we see people living this so-called rich life, and then you find out she's making what a school teacher makes. In fact, you want to get real? She makes less than what I make. She makes $48,000. I make $63,000. But again, comes down to greed, trying to live the image. And I will never understand how they actually intended to get away with this. I will. It's like people who start, what is that fraud? The Ponzi scheme frauds. I always go, at some point, it's gonna break. There's no way to maintain it for forever. So I'm always amazed going, what did you guys think was going to happen? So she was living her $400,000 lifestyle on a $48,000 income. Just, something to consider when you think, oh, gee, when you think you're behind everybody else and you're not doing as well, you're probably doing a whole lot better than you think.
Bill hanging over her head when she's released in early 2027.
When they did time, I believe that you need about $100 a month. You're going to live comfortably in prison. Now, when I say live comfortably, I mean you're going to have all your hygiene items, you're going to be able to have coffee, you're going to be able to make some meals, and you're going to be okay. Recently, someone told me that their loved one gets $400 a month in prison. Now, that to me is balling. That is a lot of money in prison. When you first go to prison, you're going to need a little bit more to get your sneakers, get your radio. But after that, $100 a month is pretty freaking solid. And that's from somebody who lived on $25 a month and hustled for everything. $25 a month to me was all I needed to get my hygiene stuff. And then I hustled for everything else. So $100, oh boy, that's a lot. $400, you're freaking out of control balling. You got soups for days.
2 years ago, the aging church was fighting to stay open. It defaulted on a $1.2 million loan for repairs. In 2020 and 2021, arrest papers now show the church's pastor, Homer Altador, getting 3 separate payroll protection program loans for nonprofits connected with the church.
Not even the church. The holy grail of all of life itself. If you believe in, that sort of thing. I know not everybody does, but if you do, not even the church pastors, bishops, and everybody else, okay, could resist the temptation of the devil of the PPP.
Loans he got were, our investigation found, undeserved and totaled over $1 million.
The church was torn down after a developer bought the property in 2022. But Pastor Altador's problems resurfaced a year later when Riviera Beach Police and the Palm Beach County State Attorney's Office started investigating if the money was really spent to keep people employed and the nonprofits active. According to the arrest report, PPP money was used to buy fast food, gas, car rental, airline tickets, and restaurants, leading to Altador's arrest on fraud and money laundering.
for a church that doesn't even exist anymore, that was torn down. Let us not forget that.
Headed to federal prison, and you want to mitigate that prison sentence, meaning make it as small as humanly possible. Think about your criminal history and then start making phone calls. Call the clerks of the courts where you have criminal history and see if it can be expunged or removed. If a charge has been dismissed, it can be removed.
This DC.
Okay, before we go on to this next story, look, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, because Lord knows, family, I have made my mistakes. But just like this past TikToker just a minute ago said, think about your criminal history and call the courts where you have criminal history. Does anyone see anything wrong with that? I need my fan. If you are having to sit and deeply reflect all the areas where you have had criminal history, you think that your life perhaps may be just a little bit in the wrong direction. It's like, hold on, let me think now. Let's see, my first arrest was here, and then my second arrest, yes, I personally know the clerk at this court. If you have to think about it, because you've had so many run-ins with the law, I'm just a suggestion. All right, this guy here, well, I'm just going to let him tell the story, but he's the type of person that has done wrong and is trying to convince himself that he's really done right. You'll see what I'm talking about.
The advisory neighborhood commissioner was recently sentenced to more than 5 years in prison for wire fraud in Virginia.
I caught COVID, I lost my job, I was, out on my own.
Before he became a commissioner, prosecutors say Clayton Rosenberg submitted fraudulent applications to multiple COVID-19 relief programs, including the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, for small businesses. The feds say Rosenberg would inflate each business's number of employees, monthly expenses, and revenue so they could get more money. In turn, Rosenberg would get a cut and in all received more than $1.6 million.
They don't even make sense.
Rosenberg says those numbers, though, and his role were exaggerated.
This is a large network. You don't even know everyone involved. What was your role in this puzzle?
I was just a middleman, just a person that, got referrals and then referred them.
I was just the middleman. I was just the getaway driver for the bank robbery. I was just. That's called a person who has yet to take accountability for what they did. And he's involved in a network. Okay, when you start hearing the words like this is a network, that's big time stuff. So he says, I was just a middleman. He has not yet taken accountability.
That's it. A lot of times I didn't get any money, and I had to wait for these individual business owners to pay the person that they know to pay me.
So in other words, as the criminal, he realized that sometimes the other criminals didn't pay him. That's as dumb of a comment as someone who takes, I'm sure somewhere in USA, I either heard it or we all know what's happened. Some criminal takes another criminal to small claims court because they didn't give them their dope or whatever. Hey, I'm taking you to small claims court because I bought a bag of illegal whatever from you and you didn't give it to me. So what this guy here is figured out is, I'm just the middleman and I'm working in a network with a bunch of criminals. And wouldn't you know it, damn, when those criminals don't get their money, they don't pay me. So I'm sitting here, another criminal, and I'm waiting for them to pay me. This is like going down the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland.
Rosenberg says the leader of this fraudulent enterprise approached him with what he calls an opportunity in the early days of the pandemic, and they carried it out for a year.
So someone comes up to you and says, we have this opportunity. How was it pitched to you?
I didn't know none of the business owners. I did not know not one person.
But you knew what they were pitching to you. This opportunity was wrong.
Yeah. I knew that, this was a wrong situation, but I tried to see good in the wrong. I tried to see that at least I can say that I helped a business owner out that naturally they didn't know how to get approval.
Prosecutors.
That is the most bold answer I've ever heard. Hey, gotta watch the language on here, right? Seriously. Well, I knew it was wrong, officer, but I figured if I did wrong, my wrong would be made more right because I'm at least helping somebody else. You know, I understand, officer, that I committed a crime, but really, I committed the crime for a great reason. So I thought I would work with a network of people to help scam other people. Like, really, bro? He does not see himself as a victim of his actions. He has found a way to excuse them mentally, to excuse his actions. He was just trying to help other people, and he didn't have any money himself, so he figured, oh, it's okay if I go ahead and break the law. Put in the comments, family, were you approached? Were you approached to help break the law? Don't worry, you can use a fake name and all that, all right? But I was surprised that a few people put in the comments that, yeah, people had actually asked them to help commit the crime. So, leave in the comments if you wish. Don't worry, this is not being sent to the FBI, nor do I care, okay? But I mean, I'm blown away. This person approached me and I needed employees for this fake business. So I asked my family members, or worse yet, I didn't ask my family members and I just took their identity anyways. He is not, he needs to he needs to spend some time in prison, and he will. He needs to spend some time in prison reflecting, okay, on his part in this. And stop saying words like, well, I was just the middleman, and they didn't even pay me. When the criminals got paid, I expected to be paid promptly.
Say Rosenberg used the money for luxury items, including new cars and hundreds of dollars on products for his beard.
They put this
beard products. Oh Lord, we could go places with that. We're not. I don't think the products are working on the beard, because apparently it's affecting his brain.
It's on me and say $1,800 for beard care items. Like, I mean, look at my beard. This is, it's a nice beard, but I didn't spend no $1,800 on beard care, and it's like a joke. It makes me look, like a fool.
Rosenberg said,
and that's the problem when you become dishonest. We don't know whether to believe you or not. Maybe you really did spend $1,800. If you did spend $1,800, I'd say you got scammed on beard care. But because he's clearly a convicted felon on the PPP thing, all right, because he does get sentenced, and for legal purposes, if I am wrong on that, I meant to say he is an alleged convicted felon, allegedly, okay? Allegedly he did the crime, okay? But when you run around in that circle, even if you are telling the truth, people will not believe you.
As he was told he was being investigated in 2021.
When they told you were being investigated, you knew you had done wrong at that point.
Yes.
From that point, he tried to turn his life around by getting his MBA and even running for office in D.C.
I think he lost running for office. On the other hand, it is D.C., so he might have had a fighting chance.
Everything back. I gave my shirt off my back to the community. I didn't do anything as an elected official.
What do you say to the folks who, they already don't trust elected leaders, they don't trust the government, and they hear something like this?
I say, before judging, get the facts. Before jumping to a conclusion, get the facts. I'm facing, time now, and I just regret it all. And I just want to apologize to the business people that could not get their loans approved, folks that, I just want to apologize to everybody, my family, my community.
Okay, and as I said, I took the extra step because I care about your knowledge, and found I just took a screenshot here. He was sentenced to more than 5 years. He's in the pokey right now, probably working on his beard. Maybe they have a barber shop in jail or something. I really never heard him say that he takes responsibility for it. He's deflected it to everybody else, but ultimately it was about him.
I get asked all the time, how did you do prison time? You don't look like anybody or seem like anybody that would have went to prison. Baby, looks don't discriminate. Like, prison don't discriminate because of what you look like. I got through it by the grace of God and an MP3 player. And honestly, you just really don't think about it. Like, you don't think about how much time you have, or else your time would be long and drawn out. If you're headed to prison, you better not be marking down them days. It's gonna seem like it takes forever for your time to end.
$20,000, $15,000, $40,000. All Paycheck Protection loans forgiven, none of them earned.
We have people who are in positions of trust and authority, who supervise other people, who deal with vendors and contractors. And the federal government isn't going to come and prosecute these cases.
Will Fletcher is the Inspector General for Chicago Public Schools. His office spent months investigating these claims, finding 14 CPS staffers had committed this fraud.
CPS staffers, just that stands for the Chicago Public School staffers.
They're lying about how much money they lost at a second job or making up a business to get the money.
Making up a business. There is no way this is a mistake. You don't go and think up a business, get a tax ID number, the EIN number, go file with your Secretary of State. Like when I had my little cake business, which I don't have anymore. And no, I never filed anything on the business or anything else because I decided to turn it into a hobby. That was summer 2024. I only had it around for a few months and said, I think I'll keep it a hobby. So these are school board workers. School board employees that work with children.
In one case, CBS 2 analyzed public records and uncovered a loan for a central office administrator making more than $200,000, receiving $15,000 in forgivable money.
So this staffer, just to make this clear for my audience, this staffer had a public service income of $200,000. And she loses her job for a freaking $15,000 PPP fraud. Yet she had a $200,000 Chicago school employee, I guarantee you, with full pension, benefits, yada yada, and she gave it up for $15,000 PPP. That is as dumb as the one we heard earlier today, family, about the football player who gave up the NFL so he could get $1 million. Yet instead of spending the time working on his NFL skills and becoming a multi-million-dollar player, I really believe that the PPP brought out the core of who people are, the absolute core of who you are.
Crystal Cooper was the former chief operating officer at CPS. Records show her salary was $220,000, and she received just over $15,000 in PPP.
What was surprising was just how many people who earned six-figure salaries were willing to commit PPP fraud and jeopardize their career.
Here's 3 things I learned after serving time in federal prison. Number 1, the world waits on no one. After being away for so many years and coming home, I realized everything was different. Somewhere along the line, I thought people would wait on me. I thought life would wait on me. It's weird, but it's true. It was almost traumatizing to see that the world had moved on without me. So it taught me, life waits on no one. Number 2, the saying is true. When someone is out of sight, they really go out of your mind. People forgot about me, and it hurt me. I had to learn not to take things personally, though. They didn't think about me because I wasn't around, and I wasn't around because of what I had done, and that was my fault. Nobody's obligated to do something for you while you're going through a hardship. I had to learn that the hard way. And number 3, you can always bounce back. I've seen people who weren't supposed to even see the light of day come out of prison. I've seen people thrive after being in such a low place. I'm one of those people. And so I know now that it doesn't matter where you are, it's where you're going.
All right,
Damara Holness broke down.
Family, that is the end of the PPP fraud series that I've done, 1, 2, and 3. I will attach 1 and 2 here at the end of the video. And I have had some requests if I could look at other fraud stuff. I think unemployment fraud, things like that. Don't get me wrong. We will keep up on the PPP fraud stories as they come in. We will intermingle it with other fraud stories. But as far as specifically for PPP, this is the end of this particular series. Okay. But of course, we will be keeping up on what these PPP convictions, arrests are, and I will intermingle them with other fraud series. All right. If you've not considered subscribing, I certainly hope you will. It has been an absolute pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed this little series. There's so much more to come. So please consider subscribing. And family, my time is up, and so is yours. Have a great Sunday, everyone. Bye.